Welcome to Plans Are Booked, a podcast for every reader. I'm Molly Geller.
I'm Stephanie Blackburn.
And we are a duo today. We are fresh out of the movie theater. We saw the page to screen adaptation of The Housemaid by local Boston author Frida McFadden. What do you have to say about the movie? Did you feel like it was what you thought it would be? Do you feel like it was an accurate depiction? Better, worse?
I feel like it kept very true, I would say, to the writing. I would say the casting was not, when it was announced, it was not what I had pictured, but I didn't mind it as I was watching it. Do you know what I mean? Like it had been a long enough time since I read the book that I was like, this is like a separate thing and I'm just going to go into it as it is. I think that Andrew was as terrifying, spoiler alert, as terrifying as he turns out to be in the books. If anything, it was even scarier to see the like calm demeanor on such a beautiful man.
I was just going to say scarier, but also sexier. Like he was so much better looking than how I was picturing it in my mind.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night and how twisted it is, but also it had to have been purposeful on Frida's part that we're reading this book or watching the movie and you're going along thinking, oh my God, Andrew deserves so much better than this crazy wife of his. Of course, he should be with like the beautiful young housemaid. And then I'm thinking to myself, why am I thinking that? Like, that's so twisted. Like, no. I had to like correct myself for a minute. The details after the fact about how, spoiler alert again, how the lamp is maybe made of hair was so upsetting. And I don't know that that's necessarily what it truly was supposed to be, but like the potential for it to be is terrifying enough. What did you think?
I have so many thoughts. The first is that if you didn't read the book, I think you would still love the movie. I feel like you don't need to have read it at all to follow along. And even though you are missing details, like details of the past relationships or details of the dark things that wind up happening, the core narrative is flawless in the movie. It still gives you all of the beats. It still gives you the big reveal and the switcheroo that happens mentally. And as we discussed when we were walking out of the theater, I do think the casting, specifically of Nina, who's played by Amanda Seyfried, is a bit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them, Amanda Seyfried and Sydney Sweeney, look more almost like, not twins, but like that
They're
they
too
could,
close in age.
yes, and that they could swap in for one another. Whereas in the book, Nina's older. She talks about how she was heavier before she married Andrew. She gives more like Real
40s.
Housewives type vibe. And Millie, who is played by Sydney Sweeney, is more young, clearly beautiful. I just felt like there wasn't enough distance between them. But maybe for the sake of the movie, since you don't get to have all of the background, maybe they felt they needed to do that for viewers who don't know the whole story to be like, oh, is this just going to be like a wife swap situation?
Right. But also, Amanda did such a beautiful job of.
She's such a talented actress. After watching her play Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos, I was like,
yeah,
she's so gifted, and she was great in this part. The thing about the hair will haunt me truly forever. Forever. And when you, for those who have seen the movie, Steph's mentioning there's this lamp in the house that has like,
it's like a chandelier.
It's a chandelier. I thought it was like animal hair, something like exotic. But I actually think you and whoever else on the internet is like guessing at this is probably right, that this is part of this like torture ritual. And because Brendan Sklenar, the actor, is so outrageously handsome and charming, even when he's doing all this wackadoodle stuff, and even when he's like really injured and looking seriously messed up, I still was like, oh man.
I don't normally look away from movies. Like I've watched some really grotesque stuff, but as you know, I have a history with teeth. And that was like very traumatic where I could not watch that scene at all.
Yeah. We both either had eyes closed
I
or
saw
hands
you.
up. Oh, I had my hands up. Listener, I had my hands up over my, I think at least 3 times during the movie, maybe more.
Yeah.
It's not light.
Mm-mm.
So if you don't want to be scared or feel the suspense feeling, this is not the movie
Or
for you.
just blood.
Yes, definite warning for anyone who doesn't want to see blood. But I hope Frida McFadden feels thrilled with it, because I think not only was it a good representation of the book, but it will be really enjoyed by people who didn't even read it.
Mm-hmm.
And the story arc is still excellent. And as we know, she has many more books.
Well, so there was a girl who came to the store the other day who bought, what is the second book in
The
that series?
Boyfriend,
No, that one's like a one-off.
a
It's like
standalone.
the Handmaid is Watching or something, I think
Oh,
is the
okay.
second one. And she came up to the counter with that and I said, "Oh, have you seen the movie?" And she said, "I went twice." And I said, "Okay." And then I was like, "Did you read the book?" She was like, "No." She just was skipping to the second book and was going to go on, but I said to
Okay.
her, "Okay, my suggestion after this, which is a standalone, is The Boyfriend because I can usually figure out twists and turns, and that one I could not." Which I truly appreciate in a writer who can
That's
just
saying a lot, because you
confound
guessed
me.
the outcome of everything. So for that to be true is a big deal. We also watched a adaptation that came straight to Netflix, which is The People We Meet on Vacation, which is an Emily Henry book. So
But
I
I
read
didn't
this
read
book,
it.
and I know that you didn't. I read this back in April 2022. I actually can't
Mhm.
believe it was that long ago. There's like a period of the pandemic where just everything felt like one long 2020. And I read that book during that time. And I reread my Goodreads review the other day, and I was like, oh, I did really like this. It's a now and then story of friends to lovers. And I had so much time had passed since I read it that I didn't go into it being like, oh, gee, I hope this gets included or that gets included, which I think is good, because I didn't nitpick it in the same way I might do something else. I found that the beginning of it was pretty slow, and that if you didn't know where it was going to go, you might give up on it.
Well, I didn't give up, but my problem was that I could not stand Poppy in the early flashbacks when they're in the car driving home from BC. And I found myself being like, oh shit, I'm Alex. Because she's
You
eating the
are
mess.
Alex. You are Alex. That's correct.
She's eating the messy food in the car. I mean, she played a really great song, but I'm a girl, so obviously I was going to like that. But the constant talking, and he's panicked about the traffic, and we were supposed to leave at 8 and you got here 8ish, which is really an hour later. The whole thing was starting to unravel me, and then I had the realization that I'm him, and that made me unravel even more.
When she was eating in the car and he stops short and the burrito flies all over the dashboard, I audibly gasped. I was home alone and I audibly gasped. I was like, whoever was in charge of like the visual decision here just totally nailed it.
Yeah.
I will say she is that annoying in the beginning of the book.
But I came around to it. Like, I know that it was purposeful to set them up as so different. And I like had to realize that and be like, it's going to get better. She's going to like calm down a little bit as she ages. Loved it in the end. I have nothing to compare it to though. So, like,
Yeah.
was it a true adaptation?
Yes, it was. So in the book, there's present day in which they are estranged, and then there's all of the 9 summers leading up to the moment where they reunite. And what you don't get in the movie, and I saw a lot of people online saying they wished it had been a TV series with multiple episodes, so that each flashback vacation could have gotten its own episode and you would have more depth to their relationship. That is what was lost, is not getting to see the ways they slowly got to know each other and chipped away at each other's, neuroses, so that by the time you're back to the present day, you're like deeply rooting for them to figure it out.
Mm,
I think they had to accelerate that timeline heavily,
yeah.
but they do a good job. I think in the scene where they're camping and in the scene where they're in New Orleans, like I did a lot of smiling and laughing.
Mhm.
And I also saw an interview with the actress who plays Poppy talking about the dress selection for the green dress that she wears in the present day. And they said that Kate Hudson's yellow dress
Oh my
from
God, that's exactly what I thought of.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was the inspiration, and that they wanted something with that same feel and slinkiness. And, any millennial woman knows that yellow dress, like memorized on your brain. The other thing that was driving me nuts as I was watching, I was like, I know her from somewhere, and I couldn't quite place it. And I was
And
like,
then you remembered?
no. So I was like, she kind of looks like Jamie Lynn Sigler, the actress. She kind of looks like Fran from Chicks in the Office.
You weren't thinking like a horse?
No. And then I was reading other people's comments on this interview I'm talking about with the green dress. And someone was like, I loved her in My Lady Jane. I felt like the world's biggest idiot. I watched every episode of My Lady Jane and loved it. So that just shows you that she, I think, like becomes whatever character she is, that I couldn't even recognize that was the same actress. I think that Tom Blythe, who plays Alex, is cast perfectly. Perfectly.
Which is so weird to think of, like, the scope of his work to go from like Snow to this, like a slightly neurotic, anxious, beautiful man.
Totally. And what I found really interesting about his performance is, he is playing the uptight to her, like, wackadoodle. And still somehow you're like giving him grace, even though he's being so like rigid. And as time goes on, you start to, I think, root for him more than you root for her, where he seems like the stable one, the kind one, the thoughtful one, and she seems like the whirling dervish who just can't get it together. And by the time you reach the end, it's like his heart that you're worrying about the most, or at least I was.
I think I went back and forth a bunch of different times, actually. Yeah.
There's some really good cameos in this movie. Jamila Jamil, Lucas Gage. There's like
Molly
a lot.
Shannon.
Molly Shannon.
Perfection.
Cam from Ferris Bueller. I never will know that actor's name ever, even though he's on Succession and very famous. I really liked it. And I think this is one where I would say it doesn't matter if you watch and then read or read and then watch. But if you like the characters, you should read the book. Okay. Because much like we are experiencing with Heated Rivalry, where we're kind of going backwards and reading now after having watched, I do think it makes you fall more in love with the characters and have a greater appreciation for them. Speaking of the parallel to Heated Rivalry, the internet is alleging that Hudson Williams, who plays Shane Hollander, may be cast in Emily Henry's adaptation of The Happy Place. So because I'm a psychopath, I bought that book today. Because if he is going to be in that as his next project, I feel I need to know everything about it. So that has happened.
Yeah, I mean, you're a type A, need to do your research, planner type person. So that makes complete sense.
Yes. I don't know if the psychosis has anything to do with being type A, but yes, I will do my research. Also, we were texting about this with Caitlin yesterday. There is fervor on the internet about the fact that there is going to be another book in the Heated Rivalry series, book number 7, called Unrivaled. The first few Instagram reels I saw about this just kept saying book 7 coming in September. Then finally I saw one with a bit more detail. It's not just coming out in September. It's coming out on September 29th, which is my birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
I was like, I can't even think of anything I could possibly want more than more Shane and Ilya on the most auspicious day of the year.
Wish I could say I had a hand in that.
Oh man. I just like, I don't know. And also I was talking with my friend Ari. Hi Ari, if you're listening. And I was like, is it too much to ask for my birthday this year that I want everyone to just act out my favorite scenes from Heated Rivalry? You have 9 months to prepare.
You know I can't act for shit, so.
Okay, what if you choose stuffed animals and we do like the time-lapse stuffed animals? The Calico Critters?
Cats. I could do the cats.
You could do the cats. Should we get them jerseys?
Yes.
Okay, I'm feeling that. Okay, I want to also talk about, while we're on the subject of writing and new work, can you update the listeners about what's happening with your laptop? On your laptop.
So I have been planning. By planning, I mean like mentally and taking notes. And that's like my prep work, as I mull things over for a long time and have conversations in my head and create backstories. And then I make notes on my phone, which then becomes longer notes in my computer. And I'd been planning for, I don't know, 9 months. No, what month are we in? We're in January.
January.
Okay, so it probably had been 9 months at this point. I'd been planning to do this book that I conceived of last winter, which takes place in Wyoming and is sort of an enemies to lovers, because I've never really done. I thought I would switch things up because, recently, past years, my male character is always like a bruised but beautiful, slightly broken boy. And I thought, well, what if I just did like a slightly pompous, arrogant, handsome, test my writing skills. So I had started working on this just in like the note aspect. And then over the last month, I think because I was thinking about Bethany and like the stuff she's told us about what it's like dating in Jackson. And I thought to myself, well, also the fact that it's been a year now since we were there and I miss it so much. So like my chest hurts. Um, I thought to myself, well, let me think about this a little bit more. Like, what would it be like to date in a town with a population of 10,000 that is often flooded with tourists? So you don't really know if the people are there long term, if the relationship has long term potential. What would that even be like? And I thought about it a little bit more and I started the like obsessive notes in my head and then in my phone. And then I was voice noting myself because often I'm driving and I have thoughts and I will forget about it because my brain has a lot happening in it. And it became sort of like the forefront thing where it was like forcing itself to the front. So I had set up a time next week to talk with Bethany because I decided, I mean, this character is not her, but like I have trouble thinking of jobs for people in the real world. Just like
Yeah.
I have trouble with figuring out names for people in the real world. So I thought, oh, I'll just create a character of her. I mean, it's not her because, she's the coolest person on the planet and this chick is more of an indoors type of girl like
Okay.
myself.
I do not love the way you just stared directly at me when you said indoors. Yes, we know that
I'm
that's true.
thinking of me.
Listener, if this is your first time listening to Plans Are Booked, Bethany is a tattoo artist who lives in Jackson, Wyoming, who's done beautiful work for Stephanie and is also the artist behind the cover of her book, Golden Hour. So if you're wondering to yourself, who is Bethany? That's who she is.
Sorry. My bad.
I anytime you give me access to your drafts, I always feel like I'm like getting away with something. And I was so excited to open my computer today and read your first 2 chapters. And I kid you not when I say I was grinning like an idiot the entire time.
Well, I have to respond verbally to the comment that you wrote on it about circling the table
Yeah.
because I wrote that in because of in the 100th episode how you said you would love to be circling a book table with a gentleman, and I thought, well, that's going to end up in this book now.
Oh, noted. And when I get my physical copy of this book, whenever it is, I will be putting one of my permanent purple flag stickers on that page to remind myself that that's the origin of that.
I think
This,
it's this for me has just been like I'm so excited to write it. Whereas the other book was going to be a little bit more emotional to kind of work my way through because it deals with like darker stuff. And this one just feels it's winter. I need something to obsess over that feels light and happy and fun. And I'm excited to sit down for a couple of hours each day. I mean, yesterday and today, I probably sat down for a total of like 7 hours, even though I only wrote like 3,000 words. Um, I need to be that this is now the thing that's pushing itself out of me. So I need to just embrace that and just let it come out.
it's so authentically your voice, like from the literal first sentence, which I put a comment on in the Google Doc immediately. It sounds like what I know to be the signature Stephanie Blackburn sound in my head when I read your work. It has so many cute and cheeky and clever moments.
Thank
It
you.
has so much truth about what it's like to be in Jackson. Like I could visually picture everything that you were describing. Also, the way that you are describing food in this particular draft
It's because
is
I
really strong.
It's because I'm I'm imagining
Oh, I know
us
what you're imagining.
at the restaurant that we love, sitting at the bar, eating the Caesar salad, and how effing good that would be right now instead of sitting here in Watertown, Massachusetts. So I'm transporting myself is basically what's happening.
I also felt totally transported. I can't wait to see where you take it. I don't even wanna know. I don't wanna know what's in the outline. I'm just
It's
gonna
like ready
follow
to
it.
tell you things.
Nope, I'm just gonna follow it. I just
Okay.
whatever you put in there is I'm gonna follow it.
Here's one clue, which gives nothing away. I'm going to say a couple words actually: ski joring, hockey, tattoos, watercolor painting.
Watercolor painting.
I think that's enough to like tease you a little bit. And still, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So,
No, I don't, and I can't wait. And also, Stephanie just mentioned this a second ago, but listeners, you should know, Steph hates naming characters, so every time I read a new draft, I can't wait to see what names you choose, even if they don't wind up, like, being the permanent ones.
yeah, I feel like the main character, the female protagonist, her name's already changed twice because
Oh!
yeah, she was gonna be a Franny, and then I was like, I don't think she's a Franny. And then I was holding Bingley, and I was like, Darcy, because
Oh!
Jane Austen is always on my mind.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm excited for you to keep going. I can't wait to see where it leads. I think you're right. Winter is a great time to be focused on a creative project here in New England. We have a lot of indoor downtime, and it's fun when you have that feeling where it's like flying out of you.
It's literally the feeling that I get when we're watching and texting about Heated Rivalry. So I'm just like sustaining that high.
Love that. I love that. Should we talk about our book for this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Would you like to intro it or would you like me to?
I'll just intro the fact that I came across this again because it was an arc that was on the table in our break room at the store. The cover kind of enticed me a little bit, and I think I must have briefly read the I usually briefly like look things over because so many of them come in. Like every week we get new ones, and sometimes I'm just not enticed by the cover. But this one I kind of like looked over and was like, meh, it's not too thick. I can give this a chance. And I think I sat on it for a little bit longer than I should have because when is it supposed to come out? Do you remember?
It's early March.
Okay. So I only read this a couple weeks ago, but this is my first book by Amy Jo.
Amy Jo Burns. Yep.
Thank you. Um, and it had feelings of Daisy Jones and the Sixth if it was more indie as opposed to like mainstream music. It also has, I've never been to Appalachia, but there's like a hauntingness that everyone sort of refers to in Appalachia, either in stories or news articles, that I think definitely colors the background of this book. It's got country music, which I love, and a young woman trying to make her way in a tough man's world, but specifically in the country music industry. It also has like a now and then aspect, which I didn't realize when I first started it because it's what, 50 pages before we have a
Yeah.
time jump. So I sort of was going into it in the present day section at the beginning, thinking, oh, maybe this is a murder mystery because it's about like an asteroid that lands and uncovers what might be related to a missing person who was once this famous musician. And I mistakenly thought, oh, that's why I picked it up off the table. This is a murder mystery. Wrong. This is not a murder mystery.
Yeah. You read it first, and based on your description, I was very intrigued. I tend to like books that are in the music realm. I loved Daisy Jones. I totally agree with you. It also reminded me of this book called Songs in Ursa Major.
Oh, yes. Loved that one as well.
And I like this book for many reasons. One, it has that lyrical poetry quality to it where you are reading the prose, but you're also reading the song lyrics.
It's like sing songy almost, the way she writes a sentence.
Perfectly said. Even the prose bits feel lyrical, which is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there are moments where she is describing certain emotions or certain feelings of regret that just are piercing. And this is not my copy of the book. I don't own it. If I did, I would have yellow highlighted the shit out of that thing. Like, it was so to me, as someone who loves to write, and that's a huge part of my professional career, to see her word choice, to see the way she evokes such intense emotion. And, there's that saying that the more niche something is, the more relatable it is. And I feel
Mhm.
like this whole book is a masterclass in that concept. And as Steph said, it's kind of a now and then about this woman, Elle Harlow, and this young woman in the present day, Mary John. First of all, Mary John is such a cool character name. It's just
Yeah.
like so different than
But
anything.
I think it was supposed to be pronounced differently, like
Oh, is it?
Marajon.
Marajon. We'll find out when it gets adapted, which it 100% should.
Yes.
So I loved both the past
Mhm.
story and the present day. I love how they eventually fuse together.
Mhm.
And
So not how I had expected it to
no,
go.
not at all. And in Elle Harlow's story, she comes from this Appalachia background, and she's a healer. And
Mhm.
she has this gift for knowing when people are struggling and knowing how to help bring them back to stability. And many people are freaked out by her, actually. And it reminded me of Where the Crawdads Sing,
Ooh. Yeah, great comparison.
right? Where people
Mhm.
are freaked out by her and she's like wild and they don't really
Mhm.
know what's going on there, but they also know she's really smart.
Mhm.
It kind of threw me back to that. And then in the present day telling, there's sort of this Mary John. Is she going to have a love affair? Is she going to, you know, leave behind everything she knows? There's just kind of an unknown about her future that was very interesting to me.
Mhm.
And I don't know why, but when I thought about if this makes it to screen, the person that I want to play Elle Harlow is Kate Hudson.
Oh.
I don't know why. I just like, she is who I was picturing.
That see, I didn't picture anybody whatsoever, but that works. Yeah.
Because I feel like she has the musical background.
Is this because you just saw her in that movie?
No, not even,
Oh,
because I read the book before that, before I
okay.
saw her in Song Sung Blue, in case anyone needs their Neil
Mhm.
Diamond fix. I mean, so listen, there's so many people who could do an amazing job in this role,
Mhm.
no question. And especially, it would be cool actually to see a singer who perhaps wants to take a turn through
Like a
acting,
no-name person. Mhm.
right? That could be very cool.
Mhm.
There is so much mystery to this, even though you're right, it's not a mystery story, but there's just a lot of like, unknown isn't even the right word. There's just a lot of blanks that need to be filled in about these women. And that's why you keep reading, because you're trying to figure out, are the puzzle pieces going to come together? Are we going to get a complete picture?
Mhm.
And I was interested in everyone, even the
Yeah.
bad characters
Mhm.
who were, causing tension and drama and being deceitful. I was even interested in them.
Mhm.
And that's hard to do.
I also think that, like, none of the characters were predictable. They all were human in a way
Yes.
that often gets taken out for the plot, to sort of soften things or make things work magically together. But, like, there were twists and turns and just, like, even actions, like the incident that happens on the Grand Ole Opry stage. I thought
Incredible.
I thought that was gonna be something completely different. It's just every time I thought I knew where we were going, we took, like, a sharp left turn,
Yes.
and I really appreciated that because it grounded it so much more to make you realize, like, "Oh, this is a human person." Like, they're not doing expected behavior. They're thinking on the fly and, like, panicking about things, and there just was, like, a real grittiness about it that's not to say that the other books we've already mentioned were fluffy because they weren't, but this one felt more real
Yes,
somehow.
totally. It feels more real, it feels more raw. I do think that has everything to do with the lyrical
Mm,
writing, because it's all so deeply emotional, and she has many other books, and I didn't know that,
mhm,
and when I got to the end and I read the acknowledgments, and she was speaking about, all the people who've been on this journey with her, I thought this reads like a totally fresh debut novel, like a person who had a very specific story to tell. And I was excited to hear that she has all this other work, which hopefully I'll get a chance to read. But I think this will put her into a contemporary fiction popular category
I really hope so.
that feels different than her other work. And I pray to God she has a like film rights agent that's
Mhm.
working on this for her, because it felt, I'm sure she didn't write it with film in mind, but it would translate so beautifully.
Mhm.
And, the soundtrack will be built in to be whatever the songs are that she wrote. I just think it could be really special. And
Mhm.
also, wait for me. Once you finish and you see where every character ends up, at first, when we thought it was about the meteor, I was like, what the heck is this title? But when you get to the end, it's like, what could be a more perfect title for this book? Because it applies to so many of the different relationships. Titles are really freaking hard. And sometimes
Mhm.
people write an entire manuscript without having the title.
Mhm.
And she thanks in the acknowledgments someone for coming up with it, as someone in her circle. And I felt just like, that's true. That
Mhm.
sometimes you can't come up with it yourself, and you need someone who's more on the outside to give you the clarity of what you might wanna call it.
Your dream.
It is my dream to name one of your books. Is it ever gonna happen? We don't know. I just am looking for the page that I dog-eared. Hold on a second. Okay, this is an example of her, Amy Jo's, writing that I think helps to kind of explain what we're talking about. So this is pretty deep in page 138. As the burn on her legs began to sting, Elle reckoned with what had been taken from her long before she knew it was gone. There was music and the dream of stardom, but far more penetrating theft had taken place, with Elle a willing part of it. She'd surrendered her untold story with Mary, all the pain, love, and sin, and now Josie wore it like the pelt of a fox when it was Elle who had gutted the beast and turned it into song. Elle who had formed its ribs and tendons and teeth. Elle was its creator, keeper, and captor. Josie deserved none of it. She'd made Elle think less of herself and her music, and Elle had let her. This was the first time Elle didn't ask what Mary would do. Mary was too deferential, too mild, too meek for a betrayal of this breed. Instead, Elle peered deep down, beyond the black hole inside her, and that was where she found it, her heart. It had woken and it growled like thunder about to swallow a drought. Her father had said she'd need to be heartless to survive, but he was wrong. Elle's heart was a wild ghost, and it rose from the dead the minute her song came on the radio.
She's such a good writer.
What? I mean, come on. It's powerful stuff.
Mhm.
If you guys can't tell through the video screen, Stephanie's tearing up right now because it is. That is what the writing is like for the entire book.
Here's the other thing that I was thinking about is there is an aspect of romance in
Yes.
this movie, in this book. And there is very little dialogue. There are a lot of silences between them that sort of build up the relationship. And that is not something you often see in standard romance books. We sort of like, it's a crutch almost, the dialogue, the action. And this is more two beings being in each other's presence. And over time, it becomes this thing that, like, can't really name, can't really talk about, but there's something just tethering you together. And I don't know, that's like not a common building of a relationship in a book. And it was so beautiful and it felt unique. I can't think of another book that the love kind of built without them talking, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I think because the songwriting and the poetry, it's also deeply rooted in expressing an emotion. Her writing style does that without having the exposition as part of it, which is such a gift. This is a really special book,
Mhm.
and I'm excited for people to read it. I'm hoping it gets great recognition. Of course, we often talk about wanting things to come to the screen, but forget that. I just want this in the hands of a lot of people, and
Mhm.
I want for people to experience what we experienced, which was deep and raw emotion. And sometimes we read writing that's sort of just like easy breezy, very
Mhm.
digestible.
Mhm.
This was writing that like punched me in the gut in a way that was really inspiring.
Mhm.
And that's why I read. I write for work. And so I need new inspiration, new examples, new freshness.
Mhm.
And this was like, whoa, I haven't read something like this before. And I hope she gets everything that she deserves.
Mhm. I'd agree. And now I'm excited to read her other stuff because even if it's completely different, which would still be fun, you know?
Totally. What are you reading now?
I just started last night another arc
Oh, okay.
that I picked up off the break room table. It is called If We Never End by Laura Taylor Namey. And I have not read anything else of hers except 4 years ago, you may remember Caitlin was inundating us with photos and blurbs about how Kit Connor was filming this new like YA rom-com called um, Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and
Oh,
Tomorrow.
yes.
Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
4 years ago, literally 2022. This is that author.
Oh, okay.
So, didn't realize that when I picked it up. I'm only, I don't know, less than 100 pages into this. This is about, and also the back, because it's an arc, did not tell me anything about this book. I was just entranced with the cover. I was like, this is simple and beautiful, and I'm excited for it. So it's about a girl who has just graduated high school, and her parents, I guess, work on a billionaire's yacht every summer. Like captain, the father's the captain, and the mother helps with like below deck type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm speaking your language.
Go on.
Um, so she usually spends the summers with her aunt. And her aunt is an artist that kind of blew up before she was born. She does wood and glass mixed pieces. So, I guess before the main character, who her name's Sylvie, before Sylvie was born, her aunt made these tiny little boxes that were wood with like inlaid glass pieces. And she called them dream boxes, and people put dreams in them. And in like the LA set, they blew up. She was selling them for like 10K a pop. But she stopped doing that, and she has since started doing like installation pieces. So this summer, they are leaving LA and they head up the coast to Oregon, and she is building a glass and wood bridge on this property that the owners bought it, but they haven't moved in yet. So the Sylvie and her aunt are living on the property while the aunt builds this bridge, which like sounds pretty cool. But the town is tiny. There's nothing to do. She has no job. She's also dealing with post concussive disorder, which, hi, know what that's like. And she's still dealing with regular headaches, and she's trying not to be on her phone too much. And she goes into town one day and she's just like perusing the stores, like a bored 18-year-old who's like, what the heck am I going to do for kicks this summer? And she buys a couple things at the antique store, one of which being this broken wristwatch. And when she shows it to her aunt is like, that's yeah, I'm not into watches, so I don't know. The name didn't stick with me. Imagine it's a Rolex. Okay. She's like, that is a crazy expensive watch. And she's like, well, it's broken. So when we go back to LA, we'll have to get it fixed. And then that you could probably sell it for like 10,000. So she's thinking to herself, oh, this could be like, I can get out of the house finally. I can like start my own life. And then one day it starts ticking, and a male, maybe 18 to 20-year-old, appears while it's ticking. And he starts talking to her. And then the watch stops ticking and he disappears. So, as we've come to discover over however many pages I've read, somehow he's connected to the watch. Potentially he's dead. We don't know where he is, where he doesn't know who he is. He knows nothing of his past. It's giving Stephanie Blackburn's I Want to Hold Your Hand,
Oh,
but different. And I'm enjoying it. And I'm excited to see where it goes because she's out in the middle of nowhere. The internet's not working. She can't figure out from like Googling who the heck he is. He's only there for limited chunks of time, and she can't figure out when the watch is going to suddenly work, and it's only like it only spins for a little bit, and that's how long he's there. So there's like an eeriness to it. There's an artsy vibe to everything. The townspeople are kind of quirky, and it's YA, so I don't really know where it's gonna go.
Okay, this is making me think of two things. One, I feel like this is a pretty millennial experience. Anytime someone talks about a ticking timepiece, I can only picture the pocket watch from Hook. It's like, that's what comes to my mind always.
Okay.
Secondarily, it sounds like The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston.
Ooh. Yeah, it's
Where
got a
she
little bit of
opens the
that.
door to the apartment and sometimes he's there and sometimes
Mhm,
he's not, and she can't figure
mhm,
out why it's happening or how to make it stay or how to make it stop.
mhm.
I like that kind of like, it's not right to say like whimsical, but it's almost like a magical realism
Yeah,
premise.
see, I don't think that this I can't imagine this would be shelved in fantasy, even though, like, a person's ghost being attached to a watch is kind of fantastical. I'm sure this is going to be shelved in normal contemporary YA, but it does have that, like, magic to it, and I haven't read well, I mean, we read Fake Skating recently, but other than that, I have not really been delving into YA like I
Hmm.
used to many years ago, so I thought it would be fun to sort of take a break from all the sauce I've been reading, get back to what it's like to be a teenager.
Okay, so I too took a break from the sauce. 5 spicy peppers. Um, I just finished late last night. I stayed up really late to finish it. The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I've read several other Catherine Center books. We were actually discussing earlier this week, me, Steph, and Caitlin, that her movie, excuse me, her book, The Bodyguard, is becoming a movie with Leighton Meester and Jared Padalecki, and it's going to be called Guiding Stars because The Bodyguard obviously is already a very famous movie. So this book came out a while ago. It's in paperback. It has these gorgeous hot pink sprayed edges or spreads, as Stephanie likes to say. And there is zero sauce in this book
Yeah,
at all.
I don't think she does sauce.
And what I loved about it is that the flirtation factor is at an 11 out of 10 and it's all banter. And it has been a while since I've read that kind of book. So I needed to remind myself that like that can be the payoff. It doesn't have to be more than that or different than that. That can be the climax, for lack of a better word. And I wanted to read you 2 parts from it just so listeners can get a sense. So first of all, the page 1 of this printed book says, "Caution. This love story is more swoony than spicy. The Rom-Commers is a classic, uplifting, longing-filled rom-com that tugs at your heart. You won't get maximum chili peppers here, but you will get line dancing, fainting, heart thumping, a full body contact fall, a kiss for research, a nice long moment trapped in a small pantry, a daring water rescue, a good fight or two, an epic tuxedo kiss in a ballroom. Mostly you'll get a story brimming with hope, banter, wisdom, and human connection, plus all the joy you could want from an unabashedly happy ending. Another upside, you can buddy read it with your sisters, teenagers, and grandma without it being weird, if they don't mind a few curse words here and there." I love that. Like, I love that as the intro.
Yeah.
And then just to give you a sense, so the story is about Emma and Charlie. Charlie is a very celebrated Hollywood writer who has a case of the yips. He can't get out of this slump. He has made all these successful movies. He has Oscars, Golden Globes, and he can't do it. So he was tasked with writing a romantic comedy for a very wealthy patron, and it stinks. And his agent calls in his best friend from high school, Emma, who is like the queen of rom-coms, who is an aspiring screenwriter and doesn't have any official credits to her name, but this is her genre. Nobody knows it better than her. She travels to LA to write with him. And obviously, you can imagine what happens from there. But this is the part that made me laugh. So they're sitting down at the dining room table to write together. And she says, "Charlie turned out to be a blue ink person while I was exclusively black. FYI for non writers, blue versus black ink is an essential identity issue. Much like Coke versus Pepsi, or the Beatles versus the Stones, or college ruled notebooks versus regular. You can be one kind of person or the other, not both. I couldn't help but judge Charlie a little, and I could feel him judging me right back. I'll also add that he was a fine point pen person, while I had joined the bold tip community years ago and never looked back. 1.6 millimeters or bust, baby."
I love that.
This book is really smiley. I just smiled and laughed, and I know I've been saying this a lot this episode, but I could easily picture this as a movie. I think they will add sauce if it does become a movie, because I don't know that you can sustain 90 minutes or more without that. But I really loved it, and it reminded me, importantly so, that you can have a great flirtation and tension without the physical. And I have another one of her books, The Love Haters, which I got as both this book and The Love Haters I got as holiday gifts from my friend Emily. Hi, Emily. And I'm really excited to keep going because I genuinely enjoy her writing style. And like we were saying, it's a long winter. We got a lot of free time right now. So I'm really excited to keep going, and I really enjoy her. So, listeners, if you want to see the list of all the books that we talked about today, you can head to Instagram. Plans Are Booked. That's where we list all of the books that we mention every single episode. You can write to us, plansarebooked@gmail.com. Let us know something you think we should cover. And if you've left a review on Apple or Spotify, thank you. If you haven't yet, but you like what you hear, we would love if you would leave a 5-star review. We appreciate it so much.
And until next time, our plans are booked.